There are some stories that don't start with success or confidence, or even hope. They start with a tired mother, a crying baby, and a fridge that makes more noise than it has food inside. This is the story of Lisa Nichols. Now, Lisa wasn't born into luxury or fame. She didn't have a billionaire uncle or a fancy education from some ivy-covered university. She had something even more valuable, though. A stubborn kind of hope that refuses to die even when your phone bill does. She grew up in South Central Los Angeles, a place known for two things in those days: sunshine and struggle. Lisa was just like many kids around her, full of dreams, but surrounded by walls that whispered, "Stay where you are." She had a mother who worked hard and believed in education, and a world that kept reminding her that believing wasn't always enough. As a young girl, Lisa dreamed of being somebody. Not a celebrity or a star, just somebody who mattered. But life as usual had other plans. In school, she was told she wasn't smart enough. She failed English in school. Yes, the same woman who would one day motivate millions once failed English. Irony really loves successful people, doesn't it? She grew up watching others chase dreams while she chased survival. Fast forward a few years and she was a single mom. No partner, no backup, no fairy tale. Just her and her baby and $11.42 in her bank account. And a decision that would change everything. She looked at her baby one night. His tiny fingers holding her like he knew something she didn't. And she made a silent promise. She said, "Baby, one day mommy's gonna give you a better life. But right now mommy's just trying to keep the lights on." There's a different kind of pain in being broke with a child. It's not just hunger, it's guilt. It's not just worry, it's responsibility. Lisa hit rock bottom. And when you hit rock bottom, you learn something funny. The rock is solid. You can actually stand on it. So she stood. Not physically, but emotionally. She stood on that rock and said, "I am not staying here." She decided to go on a journey of self-discovery. And let's be honest, it wasn't a glamorous one. It wasn't yoga retreats or luxury podcasts. It was crying in bathrooms, writing affirmations on napkins, and listening to her inner voice that sounded more like, "Girl, what are you even doing right now?" She got a job as a single mom. And every paycheck felt like a joke, because half went to bills. And the other half went to baby food and gas. And if she was lucky, she had enough left to buy a dream. And if you've ever tried buying a dream at a discount store, you know it doesn't come cheap. Lisa started attending workshops, reading motivational books. And slowly something shifted. She realized that the story she kept telling herself, the one that started with "I'm not enough," wasn't the truth. It was just a bad first draft. She began to speak. First in small rooms, then slightly bigger rooms. She didn't have confidence, she borrowed it from every no she ever got. And every person who told her she couldn't make it. Because sometimes borrowed belief is enough until you earn your own. Her first few speeches were rough. She'd forget her lines, her voice would shake. And sometimes people would just stare. But you know what they say. The people who stare today will quote you tomorrow. Lisa was learning not just to talk but to connect. She talked about pain, about fear, about failure. And the audience felt it because she wasn't pretending. She wasn't on stage saying, "Look how great I am." She was saying, "Look how broken I was." And somehow that's more powerful. Still, life wasn't easy. Bills still came in. Doubt still showed up uninvited. And her inner critic still whispered, "You're not good enough." But every time she wanted to quit, she'd look at her baby. And that small pair of eyes would remind her why she started. One day she was asked to speak at a local event. And she almost said no. She thought, "I'm not ready." But truth be told, no one is ever ready. The event was small, the mic was cheap. And the audience looked half asleep. But when Lisa spoke, something magical happened. People listened. And then they clapped. And one woman walked up to her with tears and said, "Thank you, I thought I was the only one who felt like this." That moment hit Lisa harder than any paycheck ever could. She realized her voice wasn't just her escape. It was her gift. A tool to lift others who were drowning in silence. She started to work even harder. She studied communication. She practiced storytelling. She watched tapes of great speakers. And every time she fell, she got up. Every time she doubted, she whispered, "I will not die in my brokenness." Her journey wasn't fast. It wasn't flashy. But it was real. And that's why it worked. Now somewhere between those sleepless nights and those cheap microphones, a new version of Lisa Nichols was born. A woman who wasn't defined by her past but powered by it. And as she started to rise, people began to notice. There's always that phase where you go from invisible to undeniable. And for Lisa that moment was coming soon. But before that she had to face one more test. And this one wasn't about money or motherhood. It was about self-worth. Because success doesn't start with a bank account. It starts with belief. And she was about to learn that the hard way. When Lisa started finding her voice, she had no idea the kind of waves she was about to make. The woman who once failed English was now getting standing ovations for her words. Funny how life works, right? It's like the universe has a sense of humor. It waits for you to hit rock bottom, and then hands you a microphone. Lisa began speaking at bigger events. Sometimes she was paid, sometimes she wasn't. But at that point she didn't care about the money. She cared about the message. Because when your story has saved you once, you can't help but share it. She would tell audiences about her. She'd joke that airports had become her second home. And that her suitcase had more loyalty than some of her old friends. She kept her humor alive because she knew. Laughter is the best survival strategy after faith. One of her most famous moments came when she appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show. Now imagine this. The girl who once couldn't afford baby formula. Now sitting across from Oprah. Sharing her story with millions. If that's not a plot twist straight out of the universe's screenplay, I don't know what is. But Lisa stayed humble. She always said, "I'm not extraordinary, I just chose not to stay ordinary." And that line hit differently, because she meant it. She started writing books. Each one filled with stories, lessons, and raw truth. Her words traveled across countries and hearts. She reminded everyone that success isn't something that happens overnight. It's something that happens over many nights of tears and self-doubt and tiny wins that no one claps for. Lisa's humor was her secret weapon. She'd make people laugh and cry in the same minute. She'd tell a story about not being able to afford diapers. And then laugh saying, "The only thing that kept me dry were my dreams." Her audience would laugh and then realize, wait, that's deep. That's Lisa. The woman who can turn pain into poetry and struggle into punchlines. But what made her truly different was her honesty. She didn't pretend that life suddenly became easy once she made money. She talked about the loneliness that comes with leadership, the pressure of being a role model, and the weight of staying authentic in a world that celebrates filters. She taught people that self-love isn't about bubble baths and selfies. It's about boundaries and bravery. She said, "You are the author of your own story, so stop handing the pen to other people." Now that's the kind of truth that wakes people up. As her company grew, she started hiring more people, creating a community of coaches, speakers, and dreamers. She built workshops around the world helping others find their voice, because she knew the power of words can build empires or destroy them, and she had chosen to build. Lisa also made sure to give back. She supported single mothers. She mentored young women. And she reminded everyone that giving isn't charity. It's gratitude with direction. Her son, who once saw her cry over unpaid bills, now sees her on global stages. And every time she looks at him, she knows the promise she made in that tiny apartment was kept. Of course, the internet loves a good underdog story. But Lisa's story isn't just about success. It's about transformation. Because true success isn't about what you have. It's about who you become in the process. She says, you don't get to skip the struggle. Because that's where your strength is born. And that's what she lived. Every no, every tear, every rejection was fuel. She didn't chase fame, she chased freedom. And somewhere in between she found both. Now today Lisa Nichols is not just a motivational speaker. She's a movement. Her company Motivating the Masses has reached millions. Her books are bestsellers. And her story has turned into a mirror for anyone who ever said I can't. She travels the world teaching people how to speak their truth, but also how to live it. Because Lisa believes your story has power only when you share it from your scars, not your wounds. And maybe that's the real reason she connects so deeply. She never hides the messy parts. She laughs at her past mistakes. She owns her pain. And she turns it all into purpose. If you've ever heard her speak, you'll notice one thing. She doesn't sound like she's on stage. She sounds like she's sitting right next to you saying, "Hey, I've been there. And guess what? You can get through it too." She once said, "I was willing to be my own rescue." And that's exactly what she did. She rescued herself from fear, from poverty, from self-doubt. And then she built a life teaching others to do the same. Now when you see her smile, you don't just see a motivational speaker. You see a woman who walked through fire and learned how to dance in it. Lisa Nichols is proof that rock bottom is solid ground. And if you're brave enough to stand on it, you can build anything. So the next time you feel stuck or small or scared, remember this. Once there was a woman with $11 and a baby. And today the world calls her unstoppable. And maybe, just maybe, the next unstoppable story is yours.